it's me, Alexa Shy, and I'm going to tell you some stuff about me now that I've never told anyone before, apart from people in my close circle. They're going to confess. Maybe I confess. Okay. This all started when I was 13 years old. Of course, you know the facts about me. I was diagnosed with autism, Asperger's syndrome at 5 years old. And yeah, so I was brought up with foster parents and brother and sister that stole most of my attention and time from me, and it was very difficult. And things at school got difficult because at one time I was put in a special needs class for children with severe autism, classic autism, ADHD, and loads of different, more complex needs than me. Which looking back, it was very difficult for me, and I'm going to tell you something that I feel ashamed of now. Because people were more severe than me, and people were more different than me, growing up, with people like in the classroom full of people like that, with me being more high functioning than everyone else, I thought I was better than them and more superior and more higher, more greater, or more worthy of life than them. And of course this isn't the truth, because no one's... Sorry about this. Of course that isn't the case, because no one is more worthy than anyone, or nobody is more worthy of life than the other. And it is mainly my frustrations and the facts that everyone else was getting all the attention and I wasn't. Call this envy, call this jealousy, call this feeling left out, call it what you will, but this is a fact. And what else? Yes, it was frustrating. And because of my frustrations and me acting out and me not being good at friendships and knowing how to have friendships, I lashed out a lot and I hurt people. I did things I shouldn't have done and I regretted, and social services got involved, psychotherapists got involved, psychiatrists got involved, with me not wanting to own up to everything that went on at the time. I just said to the psychologist in front of my foster parents that I heard voices, which of course at the time I didn't. I just didn't want to own up to the truth. And it was one lie that got me into very, very deep trouble, or made things even worse. Because people at the time thought I was probably schizophrenic or hallucinating or crazy. When I was 13, I was put in a mental hospital. And I was put under heavy sedation. And I cried at that point, and it physically and emotionally hurt. And my foster parents were only allowed to visit me on certain days, so they had to plan a lot of stuff around visiting me after I got taken away. And what happened is, when we sat in the visiting room, saying goodbye was always hard for me and for my family. What made it harder for me is I wasn't the only one crying when it was time to say goodbye. My foster mum was crying, my foster dad was crying, my sister was crying, and my younger sister, Samantha, and my brother, well, I don't know if he was crying, but we were all basically crying and emotional because I knew I was never going to be able to stay with, I was only going to be able to see them, and they were only allowed to see me and visit me. They weren't allowed to keep me with them or have me stay with them and live with them again. This was hard for me emotionally, me being 13 at the time. And I was heavily sedated and medicated, so yes. And I could not make friends with people in the place I was in. The mental hospital was in Middlesbrough. It was a maximum security. It was a maximum security secure unit. That's what it was, and yes, and well, I endured it, so I paid the price for lying and for not owning up to my actions. And one of the reasons I also paid the price was because at school, my only friend and the only person who understood me was my drama teacher, Mr. Thwaites. Yeah, so I paid the price, and I lost so much, and I lost out so much time because of my own behaviour. Yeah, and so after I was at mental hospital, yeah, when I got let out of mental hospital, it wasn't the case of mental hospital then back home. There was no living back with my foster parents after that time, and after what happened. Another thing that tipped the scales and got me put in a mental hospital was well, I'm not going to tell you this thing because it goes way deep and it's something I'm deeply ashamed of and not proud of, and but actually I'm going to tell you it anyway. According to my foster parents, they found hedgehogs outside, lying dead on the ground with bleeding to death and with all the spikes removed. And for some reason my foster parents thought I did it, and accused and said that I killed hedgehogs. I don't know if I did. I don't remember physically killing any animal at that age. Or killing any animal anyway. But, so my foster parents found these hedgehogs and, well, they came to the assumption that I killed them. Which there's no evidence to suggest that I killed them or that I didn't. Because I don't remember. And if I don't remember something, it probably never happened, because I've got a very good memory for remembering my past lives and experiences. And yes, well, I don't know. I can't say whether I did or did not do anything, because I can't obviously remember. And what else happened? Well, after mental hospital, I was put in a boarding school. And during boarding school, I was bullied by people who are not bigger and stronger than me, and I was picked on. And people who worked in that boarding school physically abused me. They pinned me to the floor, sat on my spine, pinned me against the wall, pinned my arms behind my back. And I got really violent at that point. My spine still hurts from it. And so after boarding school, I was put in a care home for adults with learning difficulties. I was put in a care home for adults with learning difficulties, and again, I ended up with a superiority complex, because I was put with two people who were less fortunate than I and who had more severe and more complex needs than me. And with me being me and being the way I am and being more high functioning and me having just not needing that much at the time, I lashed out a lot and I got upset with people and got angry and said stuff that I shouldn't have said and acted violently. After that, someone that worked at that care home put me in a mental hospital. And well, at this time when I got put in there, it was unjustifiable and it was not necessary, and I literally had to stop myself from crying while I was there, because I didn't want people to see that I have a weakness. But there's actually two or three people that lived in that that were in that mental hospital that actually saw me crying, that I could trust, and that were also there that helped me through it, and they got me to the point of being completely calm, to the point where I got let out. But the point is, I had to stop myself from crying, and I had help from my spirit guides and a birth parent in the spirit world that stopped me from crying, and from then I learned the art of self-control, self-composure, and the ability to not cry in public and not show my emotions openly. So pure emotional control. got let out, well, I was allowed to go back to the care home that with people with learning difficulties. And yes. So I got that. So when I got that, I was still annoyed at the person who put me there, and I still hate them to this very day. But here's another thing. Shortly after that time, it became my birthday, and when I got let out and when I went back to the care home that I was in before that time at mental hospital, yes, so it's my birthday, and I just wanted to lay all stuff to rest and say I did not plan in moving to Scotland. I did not intend to, nor was I going to. But one day, I got a Facebook message on one of my old Facebook accounts that I no longer use or have anymore, by someone by the name of Jane Gibson Roy, who, on my birth certificate, I recognised straight away as a former birth parent. I say former because being a parent means you are responsible for that person. You are with that person your entire life and their entire life, and you stay and you keep that person with you, and you stay their parent, and you keep the responsibility going even after death. Yes, so at that point I got a message from, well, supposed birth parent, should I say. And she was living in Edinburgh at the time, and she coaxed me into living with her in her house, in which of course she obviously was not well and had incestuous motives and stuff like that. And she basically fed me lies and bullcrap about my birth dad and stuff like that, which I have a close bond with and relationship with from spiritually, from communicating in the spirit world. And it got to the point where she allowed her son, who was my half brother, to stay with her as well. And it got to the point where, well, at the point, my first relationship with a girl in this country ended because, I'm not going to go into it, but one of my first relationships with someone, and it broke up after I think about the fourth date, and because of the heartbreak, I was suicidal at that point, and I didn't want to live. But that's beside the point. And my birth mum kicked me out of her house and made me homeless, and she probably got a restraining order against me and everything for no apparent reason. And because from my experience, Jane Gibson Roy and her son Christopher Pugh were very manipulative and were very good at making people believe them and listen and believe anything they said and to join their side of the argument. And they got the police to kick me out, to help kick me out of their house and to prevent me from going in the house. So I became homeless. I had to had to stay in a homeless shelter, and because I was in a homeless shelter, I basically had to. I always had money, and I always still have money, but it wasn't. But I wasn't in a homeless shelter because of lack of money. I was in a homeless shelter because I had nowhere else to live. I could not go back to England because it was too much hassle, it was too painful, there was too much money involved, and even if I could afford to get everything and move back to England, I still couldn't because I felt like something spiritually wanted me to stay in this country. Something was holding me back from moving back into England. Yeah, so after I became homeless, and yeah, I basically had to use the money I had in my bank account to to buy whatever I could afford to eat, and when I ran out of money, I just had to go to food bank. Mind you, before I came into Edinburgh, I was a yellow belt in karate, and I studied karate for about 4 or 5 years and became really good at it. So yeah, but when I got my own house, complete with being able to get my own pet cat, which I love and admire. Another thing I went through was friendships, and I went to an autism group, but I didn't go to an autism group straight away. It was after I was in a relationship with a girl on Facebook, and I ended up with a breakup, and yes, I ended up having a very emotional breakup and crying and sad and drawn into Facebook relationships, and because one of them ended, and I was crying and sad and on the phone to my foster mum, and she suggested going out and meeting new people, which meant going to this autism group, and I tried going to this autism group, and unfortunately I made a mistake, and there was this kind young girl there. I'm not going to say any names because of the apparent name-dropping scandal that people have me under, and every time someone drops a name on Facebook or says someone's actual name, someone actually throws slander or throws criticism and anger at me because of it. So this is what happened, and at the time I had a crush on someone, and I made the unfortunate mistake in saying that I loved them, which at that time I believed I actually was in love with them, and I loved them. And this kind of scared them off and creeped them out, because I also gave them hugs repeatedly. Which isn't a bad thing, but obviously this was in this case. Also, another thing that was caused. Also, another thing. Yes. And that didn't help my case, because the girl who I'm talking about no longer wants anything to do with me, or to talk to me, or to even know anything about me. And of course, also another thing at that argument, well, of course everyone's entitled to their own beliefs and their own likes and dislikes, and I got into argument with some of the other girls there and some of the other people there, and things got rather heated and rather nasty very quick, and it even got heated and nasty with them on Facebook as well. So it got to the point, I decided to not go anymore because of the guilt, and I find guilt and regret a very huge wall and block. So then at that point that happened, and I have nothing against these 3 people at Autism Group. I just choose to forget about them, and I'm only just mentioning them now because this is a video about experiences that I've been through and stuff that's happened to me. And yeah, insults are thrown about, comments are made, allegations of being like a stalker were made, and all this kind of stuff happened. And I regretted it. I regretted my mistake, and I always will, and so then that happened. Also, another thing that happened was, when I was at college, I tried to make friends again, and I had a crush on this other girl that was transgender, and I wanted to be friends with these other people. But of course, things went wrong on Facebook, unfortunately, due to me and some of my faults and flaws, and this triggered me to become rather paranoid and scared for my own safety when I was at college. This heated up and boiled over to the point where there's meetings at college, and I was ambushed at college in a meeting, basically torn to shreds and told to either get mental help before going back to college. Because I wasn't allowed to go back to college unless I got mental help or saw a psychologist or psychiatrist first. Which of course some people on my Facebook think I'm psychotic because of stuff I've said and done. so that's something that happened. And that paranoia. I said a lot of hateful words about them people at college, including them tutors that got me kicked out. And yeah. So that happened. And that's why I can't do college anymore. But the thing is, I'm not good at friendships. I'm not good at friendships, and I can't really do friendships that good, or I don't really know how to make friends and maintain friendships and relationships, and how to keep them, or how to act with them, how to act whilst making friendships, because I don't have good social skills and stuff like that. So I'm putting all my cards on the table and telling you and being open about myself on this video, and if you like this video and find it interesting, like and subscribe and keep watching. If not, you don't have to thumbs down all the time. I'm Alexa Shy, aka Alexa Land, and thank you for watching.